Republican Congressman Michael Waltz out of Florida, serving the Middle East, and he's back with us today. And, sir, thank you for your time. I mentioned the administration leaders. Here's Anthony Blinken, just yesterday now, after repeated questions as to what you're doing with Iran and what message you're sending them. Finally, on record, here it is at the UN.
And let me say what we've consistently said to Iranian officials through other channels. The United States does not seek conflict with Iran. We do not want this war to widen. But if Iran or its proxies attack U.S. personnel anywhere, make no mistake, we will defend our people, we will defend our security swiftly and decisively.
At some point, you probably could deliver that with more gusto, but there it is anyway, sir.
Yeah, Bill, I mean, he's promising, essentially assuring Iran that we're going to defend ourselves really tough and aggressively. How about we start talking about consequences, real consequences, shutting down their flow of oil that is now at a 5-year high, getting after some of the other money that they're going after on the international market. One of the metrics that I watched closely under President Trump's administration was that all of the proxies were all complaining that they weren't getting enough funds from Tehran. And then you add that, Bill, to the mixed messaging, the equivocating in the first few days after October 7th, whether Iran was directly involved. Just a few weeks ago, the administration came before the House Foreign Affairs Committee and argued to remove Iran's proxies from the authorization and use of military force. And then the 14 times that our bases have been hit in just the last few weeks is on top of 70 to 80 times in the last 2 years. And there have been zero consequences for it. And to the extent that there is, it's only against the proxies, not against Iran itself. And that was the paradigm shift under President Trump and Mike Pompeo. They imposed consequences on Iran by taking out their most effective field general, Soleimani, and deterrence was restored. So we can have all of these big, movements of forces, but if our adversaries don't believe we have the political will to use them to impose real costs, then it's going to be for naught.
This also comes into play in regards to the fighting on the ground, whether there should be a ceasefire or not. I don't know if this is mixed messaging or like both messaging. Listen here.
We don't believe that a ceasefire right now we would believe that a ceasefire right now is only going to benefit Hamas.
We all agree on the vital need to protect civilians. Palestinian civilians must be protected. That means Hamas must cease using them as human shields. It means humanitarian pauses must be considered for these purposes.
What do you understand the policy to be?
Well, and then, Dana, that's on top of the mixed messaging of the President of the United States standing in Israel next to their prime minister, lecturing them about human rights and kind of wagging their finger. You make sure you abide by the laws of warfare. There is an absolute distinct difference between targeting civilians and collateral damage of civilians, and of course pointing out the human shields. And we're not making that distinction. I think these signals are playing right into Hamas's hands and into Iran's hands that we won't have the staying power when the going gets really tough in Gaza.
Congressman, look, can I ask you one last question, though, because we're running out of time, though? I want to ask you about the president's request for aid for both Israel and Ukraine, and how you don't have a speaker yet. Maybe that gets solved today. How does it look in terms of the congressional vote for that money?
Well, I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic about Speaker Dana. And on this $106 billion supplemental, we need to be talking about the policy. Washington is terrible about just throwing more money at an issue. What does success look like in Ukraine? What are the objectives? Is it full expulsion, 2014 line Crimea? What is it? On the border, if you just throw money at processing more people, it's only going to attract more people. We have to deter the migrants. And then we have an Iran problem when it comes to Israel. Where's that reversal on Iran before, again, we just rubber stamp a huge amount of money, which could be, and I would argue probably is, throwing a lot of good money after bad policy?
Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.